All right, Ulm turned 72, finished research in Alteration 8, moving on in 9 as per the plan. Continuing our summoning of wyverns and mechanical men. Did some site searching, didn't find anything for the most part, but we did find, I believe this is a death gem, so that's nice. And then, yeah, there were some battles, mostly between, just Independence and Niflheim, but then also a battle in Macon, between Macon and Hinnom. So let's see, let's take a look. I think this is just us with Axe Warriors raiding out. Yeah, this just looks one of those revolts. Probably all, militia. I think we know how this goes. So, yep, no problem there. And then, of course, but the computer raided, well, I guess they were trying to recapture the same independent province. The computer does love to attack. Yeah, like bring out kind of a rando squad, some of these hurlers, but then also this Jarl, who we have seen before. Yeah, this is our guy with his chest wound and his limp, but yeah, he's super killy. He's got his regenerating armor, flying boots. We know how Ulm's human troops do against these guys, especially with no support. So yeah, that goes real badly. We lose most of that. I think, yeah, the chief survives, so that's cool. But yeah, so that's unfortunate, but it does mean that there probably isn't too much in Niflheim here. Let's just double check. Yeah, so this is what could have actually maybe dealt with that Jarl. Yeah, and no PD, no patrollers, nothing like that. This is the AI that we're talking about here. So yeah, so we're sieging Niflheim, lost this raiding squad, we'll figure it out, it's fine. And then yeah, there was an assault here in Macon. So we've seen this army from Hinnom. Looks like it's been tightened up a little bit, maybe some double lines. I think, that's definitely a good idea because, it's tough to get through this gate. And then yeah, Macon doesn't have too much, but not nothing. So this is his god. Unkitted. I think he had been killed before. This might have been the turn that he got back in. And then, yeah, some of these statues, we've talked about them. Like, they're pretty solid. And, like, everything just sort of, like, defensively clustered around, like, the squishier casters. Some of these polemarks who are pretty kitted out. Like, yeah, Wraith Sword. This guy's been boosted up in Earth and has a ton of Earth gems. Yeah, these guys are going to be nasty to take out. Like, they're pretty good thugs. So that's freaky. And then, some casters with this sort of random assortment of gear. Let's see, yeah. This guy's actually kind of kitted out for melee, which is interesting. You don't normally see, like, in E4 Thug. But, yeah, he's down to it. He probably just has the gear. Not enough chassis. This guy's got sort of an assortment of gems. He's got a Cyclops here, also like kitted, like, yeah, this is definitely enough stuff. We'll say it doesn't, these look like scouts, sort of out front. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't really have anything that's going to block the gate, so that's kind of unfortunate, I feel like. But this little cluster is going to be nasty to take down. So yeah, we'll see what's going on. We have some, earth power and stuff, people getting themselves stronger, a little bit of ethereal, some blesses. Those lightning throwers are nasty. That is one downside of, like, clustering everybody together here. Iron warriors, like a little bit of, ooh, that was some earthquake. Yeah, decently effective too, I would say. So, earthquake is like the earth battlefield wipe. It's only going to affect, it doesn't do a ton of damage. I think it's like 8 per cast, like probably plus a roll. It's not going to affect flyers, I don't believe, right? So, like, all these flyers should be totally safe from it. And then, like, defense negates, and it's, I think, armor piercing. So your armor gets reduced, but it still matters. So it can be pretty tough to earthquake down, really heavily armored troops. And then also, like, defense can just negate it. And, these guys, they have decent defense, but especially, like, against the undead chaff, these guys actually have enough. Well, you can see they've been injured. That's the other thing too, right? Because, like, even if you don't get the kill, probably most of these guys, are pretty injured, although they do have a lot of hit points. So, it's pretty unlikely that one earthquake cast is going to get them. On the other hand, like, Macon's stuff is all very, very heavily armored. except maybe his casters. But you know, they have enough hit points that even the lightly armored guys probably aren't going to care too much about Earthquake. So yeah, coming through the gate here, you know, there's still a lot of stuff. Devil's coming in, getting on the god. That's kind of unfortunate. A little bit of magma eruption. That's a really good evocation spell. Another Earthquake. Yeah. So like you can see, like there's been a ton of losses here. A little bit of swarm. I think that's coming out, yeah, from Hinnom. The lightning's still coming in, but it's pretty long range. So you know they're really kind of struggling to get hits even on this like cluster here. Yeah, and here's the fire drakes probably getting some friendly fire, maybe not. More swarm coming out, flame eruption, really good, like not point blank but low range spell. This Melkart coming in, he got a body ethereal on him, which is cool. That's not something he normally casts, so you know some caster was set up to buff him specifically. That's definitely really good, gonna help him a lot. But yeah, I think those earthquakes like really hurt, you know, and you can see like Makone's stuff is still like, I mean, definitely some of these statues, some of this is self-inflicted, no doubt. A lot of these guys are probably on guard commander, but still, like, yeah, I mean, these polemarchs are no joke as casters either. So, and then yeah, let's see, this is like one of Makone's kind of super combatants, still kind of having some fatigue problems, I would say. See, what did he summon? Earth power. Oh, Phoenix power. Nice. That's kind of extra hurts though, because you know Phoenix power is that one where they can resurrect, but you know only if they're under 100 fatigue. So you know his encumbrance is decently high, although his reinvigoration is higher. So you know he should be positive. Although he's set up to cast. Yes, he's a like Blade Wind, put him way over. That was probably just a mistake. You know he meant to have him go melee, or you know, maybe not. But yeah, I would say Phoenix Pyre, like on a caster who's going to cast, is, you know, their casters will fatigue themselves out pretty reliably. Some of these magic summons, but yeah, I think Hinnom's stuff is mostly retreating here. Yeah, there's another magma eruption. Ouch. So yeah, I mean, Makone, dude, this is a great capital defense. You know, normally. I feel like a lot of times people root, you know, for sort of the plucky defense. This is very sad for us, obviously, because Makone is our enemy. You know, definitely our fault. I think the right enemy for us to take. But yeah, didn't love to see this. I don't think there was like really anything that Hinnom particularly did wrong. The only thing I'll say is that I don't know if he got off a like battlefield wide protection spell. Like I think this nature guy, where did he go? This guy, yeah. So he enlarged himself. Like that's cool. You know, I mean, it gives him more hit points and everything. And I mean, this is a valuable caster, so like that's not crazy. But like a mass protection, I think would have helped a lot. You know, against Earthquake. So like yeah, would have needed another enlarge. Not sure about that. Maybe like trying to hit, but like yeah, you know. So it's and then I think he just goes into swarm. He may just not have the research. Like you know, Hinnom is on a single capital, and you know has had a bit of a tough time of it this game, I would say. So you know he may just not have the research. So yeah, but definitely you know if you're thinking that you might get earthquaked, you know some battlefield wide protection spells, mass flight, obviously, like if you can pull off mass flight, then you know you don't have to worry about earthquake basically at all. But yeah, I would say this is a case where earthquake really came in clutch. Yeah, Hinnom loses almost everything, which obviously really hurts. You know, yeah, all his devils, like I think. Ah, man, he loses his Melkart too with all that gear. That really sucks. So, I mean, a few of his casters escape. Like, that's good. Hopefully they didn't die in the retreat. You know, it didn't cost Makone, like, nothing. Like, he lost about half of what he had. None of it was, like, particularly... I mean, he lost his god. Like I said, I think in the chat they were discussing, and, you know, he said that, like, yeah, his god had, like, just respawned this turn from being killed before, which is so sad. So he didn't get a chance to script him or put any gear on him or anything like that. So that really hurts. But yeah, you can see the polemarchs got a ton of kills. Probably the Cyclops was the one. Actually, one of those polemarchs was really buffed up. So probably this is a lot of earthquake kills right here. So yeah, like, wow, those disco boluses on the walls, like, wow, like they really do hurt, and like for like longer battles like this, and it's just like they don't have very good accuracy, but it's like, they just keep throwing. Like normally they run out of ammunition, but it's like they just, keep on going. This is a case, it looks like, where Hinnom did attack rear, which, I've talked about that before. I absolutely think that's the right choice for the most part. And yeah, some of his garbage was trying to get up on the walls. But I will say that, like, one attack closest squad, like maybe coming in after, your guys that are going to attack rear, to at least, like, distract, the wall archers, can be really nice. It does depend on, like, what sort of archers they are, right? I mean, if you're up against Abyssia and they just have their axe guys on the wall, that's fine. Just let them hang out there and look cool. But, for a lot of the giant defenders, units that normally don't get very much ammunition, but because they're on the walls, like, they just, have, infinite ammo, that sometimes, it's like it's pretty important. I would say the only other thing too, and again, like, Hinnom, probably has like limited resources, but sometimes for assaulting forts, like sending in a massive army, is not as good. Like, we've definitely seen from Helheim where, I mean, he sometimes has sent armies in, but sometimes we'll switch it up where an army jumps on top and then he just sends in like a smaller, like more elite, force to like actually storm the fort. And definitely the more that I've played, the more I've realized that, like, that is really advantageous, so like just sending in like, maybe one or two, or I mean as many mel carts as you can muster. Again, like, Hinnom is like resource strapped here, so it's probably what they have, but just like a group of Sairs, like a mage to like buff them up and really make them nasty, along with like a few mel carts or something like that, rather than sending like everything in, maybe the devils as well. Like a smaller squad like might be better, and just limits your exposure, to something like this, because like anytime you go into the forts, it's rough. So anyway, yeah. I was very sad to see this, but you gotta hand it to the Macon player. Like, they're really, doing cool stuff. Really respect that. So yeah, then we had some unexpected events other than Macon breaking out. Some nature gems, that's good. The wolves are hungry, we lose some population, and we lose a province. That sucks. And then we discovered 2 Earth Scouts. So yeah, this is just sort of on our border. He's probably, now that we're neighbors, he's, doing the same thing, right? It's like, well, what is, Ulm got going on? So yeah, definitely happy to kill those scouts. We are sieging Niflheim, moderately damaged. That's okay, We'd definitely like it to go down faster. We have more stuff coming in, so, and then yeah, some patrollers. So, what are we doing? All right, so this is where Niflheim, raided out. We were trying to get that independent province. So there's a Jarl here, right? So, I don't know about the human troops. Oh, okay, this guy's just sneaking in. That's good. I maybe would have preferred to put this on top of Niflheim. Not really sure why they're sneaking in. Maybe just prepping to, like, raid Helheim in this direction. We do actually have, anytime there's a gray background like this, when you're looking at this army setup screen, anybody that's gray is sneaking into the province, and they won't participate in any battles, assuming they don't get, patrolled out or something like that. They don't get caught. So yeah, we are actually bringing in a few human troops, which is a little freaky. That was like maybe a mistake, but our prophet should help. Like, Word of Stone is definitely something that could mess up the Jarls. We got some Vine Ogres here clustered around a bunch of our like chiefs, as well as our Wraith Lord here. So more or less same kind of plan. Maybe would have skipped the human troops here, but really hoping to, kill this Jarl, like, while he's out in the open. Definitely don't want him, like, go away, computer. You don't want him in our lands here, but, yeah, we'll see if we catch him. And then, yeah, this is the same force that's been on top of this fort. We have quite a few reinforcements here coming in, just some more human troops. The gargoyles and stuff were here. A lot of these reinforcements are just like casters and stuff. Siege strength is maybe a little low, would have preferred to get like a little more chaff in. I do think we are bringing up, yeah, a bunch of our mechanical men on our sleeper. And I know I'd said, this is actually something I'd said previously, that's like you have to have a mage to command magic troops, and that is like true most of the time, but there are a few units, like this guy's not a mage, but he actually has really good magic leadership. So there are a few units out there, a few commanders that, you know, don't have any magic paths, but for whatever reason, right, they have some magic leadership. So yeah, you just need the magic leadership to command those magic beings. So yeah, this is good. You know, this should help a lot. And then yeah, we have some arrows going in the other direction now because you know, Makone is free. That is one other thing I will say. If you are assaulting a fort, it's often a good idea to not, even if you just leave like one unit back. You know, it doesn't even have to be like commander, although like probably better to leave a commander, like, you know, with a few troops. If the assault fails, right, the fort will stay under siege. And, you know, like now this has been repaired all the way back up, which really hurts now for Hinnom, because, I mean, you know, he cracked it in one turn. He had great siege strength with that army. Like, that was really cool. But now he has significantly less siege strength. So, like, you know, even if he was, like, he has a hero here, I think, coming up, you know, I mean, he still might be able to lock this fort down. But, like, now, because the siege was broken, like, Makone can, like, move out, right, and start raiding Hinnom and myself. You know, whereas, like, if he even just a single unit on the fort, like, this turn Makone would have to break the siege, you know, and so just slow him down. So definitely when you're making an assault, I would say, like, you know, leave at least a little bit back in case it all goes wrong, because you never know. So anyway, we're bringing our covering force up here. You know, we've seen this before. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not bringing the mage with them, so that's maybe a mistake. So no weapons of sharpness. Not really sure. This guy's making a dwarven hammer. I mean, you know, it's never a bad thing, but would have been nice if I could have found someone else to do that. Anyway, this will hopefully be enough to deal with Makone's raiders, but I don't know. We'll see. And then, you know, like, luckily this is still like, oops. You know, this army is still like sort of in place. So, you know, I was going to use it to like reinforce down here, or maybe like, you know, Vanheim comes in, but anyway, now Makone is loose. So, you know, that's probably going to hang out and, you know, counter whatever he's trying to do. You know, a few other movements like site searchers here and there. We're recapturing this. This is where we lost this province to the dire wolves. You know, summoning in another Wraith Lord. Let's see, making a stone sphere this turn. That's kind of an interesting item. We'll talk about it a little more next turn, but it just allows you to scry basically every turn for free. It's a bit pricey. I think it's like 15. What is it? Let's take a look. Yeah, 15 gems total, and it is tainted, so, you know, if you have somebody holding it for a long time, they will eventually get horror marked, so that sucks. But this is really useful, being able to do this for free every turn. So yeah, this is kind of actually the first time I've been forging one of these, but yeah, I do really like it. I think, you know, it's a cool thing if you can forge it. And yeah, let's see, research. Oh, interesting. So I switched it up a little bit, pushed evocation 9 out a little. You can see, like, level 9, it's going to take a second, you know, even with our so kind of okay research. Going for evo 6 first. Not sure what for. Yeah, you know, we have a few guys that can do magma eruption, which we saw in that battle. Which is a good spell, right? Like, it's pretty good area of effect, and you can boost it up, you know, if your guys are higher level casters, which is going to be a bit tough for us. You know, it's the story of early age home. But even unboosted, you know, it does good damage, you know, over good area of effect. It is fairly fatiguing, but still, I mean, you can get 2 of these off. Range is so-so, as is the case with a lot of the, you know, earth kind of evocations, but a good spell. Not sure if it's really worth interrupting our, you know, alteration climb. You know, we saw flame eruption. We have some guys that can cast that. So, I mean, there's some nice spells here. Our Wraith Lords will be able to do Blast of Unlife, which is not so great. I don't know. I don't really love this spell. I haven't used it a ton, in fairness. You know, it's armor negating damage, and but it's only 1 square. You know, and it's like, the damage is like good, but not great. The fact that armor doesn't matter does help a lot. And then the guys you kill come back as like Solus on your side. Like Solus really suck, so it's like 1 square guys maybe coming back as like Solus for you. Like it can like mess up formations, I guess. I don't know. I don't love this spell. Wailing Winds is pretty good. Banefire is pretty good, but we can't really cast these right now, even with our even with our Wraith Lords. We could potentially do like some Empowerment, but of course, I've talked about Empowerment. That's very expensive. Definitely an option like on the table, but yeah. So yeah, I'm not really sure about this choice, but that's what I went with. It's not a bad research thing to hit, but yeah, I'm just gonna push Alteration 9 back by not too much, right? Like 2 turns here. So yeah. And yeah, I think that covers turn 72. All right, Ulm, turn 73. We received a messenger from and he's ending our nap. So yeah, turn 75, hostile orders can be given. It's a nap, non-aggression pact 3, right? And so that is, you should always work this out with people because there are different interpretations, definitely, and it definitely can be a source of contention when people interpret them differently. So I think making it very explicit like this, I really appreciated that. This is a very respectful way to do this, and he's just saying, so on turn 75, right, like 2 turns from now, hostile orders can be given so that hostilities begin 3 turns from now. So this is totally how I interpret a non-aggression pact 3. And yeah, it's a really legit way to do this. It's not what I wanted to see, as is often the case. But yeah, it looks, and you never know. But yeah, is in all likelihood attacking. So that changes things a little bit. We finished Research and Evocation. That's good. We're probably going to need some of that. Moving on to Alteration 9, which you've talked about. Bringing a Flame Spirit in, which is nice. They're, a powerful Firecaster. Call the Winds a couple times for, like, Patrollers. Wasting our air gems. No, I jest. Some people, I think, do feel that way. I think especially for early age Ulm. You don't really have a ton of like high level air guys, so yeah, using them for patrollers and like honestly throwing like a mass of those Blackhawks at the start of a battle as harassment, it can be pretty annoying. They can take out dudes in robes and at least interrupt them. So anyway, we're getting those guys, another Ivy King, another Wraith Lord, more mechanical men, all of our summoning just going crazy with our conjuration site. Well, this is construction, so anyway, plenty of summoning. We didn't find any more magic sites. Profit went down, and then yeah, battles. So this is where we were trying to catch that Jarl from the AI. And we got him. Well, okay. We brought him to battle. So let's see. There's a little bit of Wooden Warriors, which you can see like the AoE is not great. These maidens got it. Protection 18, that's solid, but a lot of maidens didn't get it. Hopefully going to get some more casts of that. A little bit of Moss Body coming down. Yep, like to see that. Weapons of Sharpness. Got one on the Chief. That's cool. Also got one on the Vine Ogre because, of course, we did. The computer loves, this high hit point, right? That's like, oh, such value buffing this. And that's, one of the reasons, like, trying to get the Chiefs, I've talked about, the size 4, size 2, right? Like, this is 1 full square of size points, and Moss Body is a 1 square spell, right? So it's like, they're going to be going after these Vine Ogres. So if you can get the Chiefs in the same square, that's and that's going to be more hit points because they do consider like the total hit points in the square, right? It's like how much value am I going to get out of this buff, is what the AI caster is thinking, right? And so this is more value than if there's just a lone Vine Ogre, although it does look like a lone Vine Ogre did manage to get Moss Body. So yeah, who knows, the mysteries of the spellcasting AI. And then we have our Wraith Lord going in. The Vine Ogres unfortunately are a heck of a lot faster. Actually, our Chiefs are just hanging out, I think, because they're not that much. They're only a little slower. And of course the commanders you can give more weight commands to. And where did I miss? Did we already? Okay, no, the Jarl's out here. Did we already kill him? So yeah, he put himself to sleep. What was he? Okay, Wave Warriors. Yeah, this is just a computer at play. Wave Warriors is actually like a good buff. It's like a AoE liquid body. So like probably somebody got Wave Warrior. Okay. What did he wear? Where did he cast it? Did he just cast it? He cast it on himself? This is just fantastic. Hang on, let's just double check. You gotta love like freaking spellcasting AI. Like, what are you doing here, buddy? What are you doing? So yeah, I mean it's a good AoE buff. Like it is a good buff. If he was able to hit like this stuff, I mean it wouldn't really matter that much. But yeah, he just cast it on himself. He could have just cast Liquid Body, but no, he's going Wave Warrior. He's gonna fatigue himself out, and it's definitely a good thing that this Jarl is in the hands of the AI and not in an actual player. I actually think I didn't choose to do Soul Vortex on the Wraith Lord because I saw in the last battle, like, you know, everything just sort of gets mixed together, right? So it's all well and good that you deploy it apart, but like, yeah, it's probably, you know, they're gonna get mixed up together, and you know, I didn't want him to drain, especially like all my chiefs, and you know, I have some maidens here and everything. So yeah, you know, I mean, we cut through the PD, no problem. Looks like okay, he flies in. It's unfortunate he missed a lot of our thugs, although I do think I think this Wraith Lord, you know, is in contact. Yeah, he didn't really buff himself that much. I mean, okay, he's got this reduction right from his Wave Warriors. Yeah, but his morale breaks like right away. Do we get the kill? Come on, guys. He can fly, so there's a good chance that he's just gonna fly away. We may have gotten a stun. Oh no, he's asleep, of course, you know, because he's got the chest wound and everything. And come on, guys, we can do it. We can do it. Can we do it? I think we got him. Yeah, and then this is Holy Avenger, which definitely does really hurt. So yeah, you know, if you have Priest level 2 that's gonna take a lot of damage, you know, take a lot of hits, you know, which definitely Jarls will take a lot of hits, you know, Holy Avenger, a good choice. But we don't end up losing too much, right? So yeah, totally. And we found a Twin Spear, so that's cool. So yeah, anyway, the AI, not as scary. And then, of course, you know, McCone is loose, of course. So what does he do? He starts raiding out right away. I love it. We've seen one of these assassins before, but I think, yeah, this is a different one. You know, this is solid kitting for sure. Like, this is a pretty solid, like, assassin kit, I would say. And, you know, it's enough. Like, it's not really set up to deal with PD. So, like, this is, like, maybe a little dangerous. But, like, I mean, you know, he's got protection 20, like good amount of hit points, like his attack and defense is solid, right, from his experience. This guy's defense is like pretty high because he's dual wielding these weapons, which increase your defense by a lot. So like, yeah, and this is probably with, yeah, like -4 harassment. So, you know, he's gonna be really hard to hit, and like these don't deal very much damage, but again, he's a giant, so, you know, and this is militia. So I think they're gonna have no problem with this. You don't normally see assassins as raiders, but like obviously McCone is like down to it. So that, you know, this is just really cool, really good use of this stuff, and sucks for me. So yeah, so he takes that with some assassins. You don't see that every day. 6 PD did not help us out there. And then we caught another battle in the ongoing war. You know, I mean, Marverni and Helheim's conflict still rages, despite our problems. Yeah, wow, this is a heck of a. I think these are mercenaries. This is a mercenary band. This is a Tianqi summon normally, I think. They're sacred. They have like some attack density problems, right? Because they're size 4, and they only have 1 attack. But like they're not. I mean, like their skills are good. Their strength is really good. They have good hit points. Like, you know, good protection. Like, I haven't ever really played Tianqi, but and I don't know how expensive these guys are. They have Spirit Sight. That's cool. Anyway, these guys just seem really cool. Solid troops. You know, we've seen a lot of this before. We don't need to go through all of this. We have not seen this. This is an Eater of the Dead. I'm not really familiar with this at all. So he swallows guys. I guess, you know, that makes sense. On trample, so he's a trampler, yep, and he's size 6, and he has 329 hit points. Holy moly. No regen, though. That's, wait. Oh, he just has regeneration built in, naturally. And then he also, yeah, he's a plague carrier, right? So he just diseases units that are around him, like in an AoE. So it's actually like a little freaky. Like, yeah, I think, there's a chance that he will disease, some of, right? Friendly fire, always a possibility in Dominions. He's got a fear aura, pretty powerful. Like, yeah, this guy's probably not cheap to summon in. He's a corpse eater, which I think... I forget if it happens on the strategic map. I'm not super familiar with this, but basically he can eat corpses to increase his hit points, and you can get some of these corpse eaters up to like truly ridiculous levels of health. So anyway, yeah, that's like a late game summon, kind of cool. Not a whole lot over here from Averni, like a few sacreds. Like this is probably again like remnants, of a previous battle. And anyway, yeah. So the Eater of the Dead goes in like right away, which is good because you don't want your guys to get diseased. Like, does he end up diseasing anybody? It's probably like a magic resistance check. And a lot of Helheim's stuff like has pretty decent, magic resistance. So I don't see anybody like getting diseased. So it doesn't seem like too powerful, assuming your magic resistance isn't abysmal. And like we don't know anybody like that, right? So maybe don't send our regular troops against that. But yeah, anyway, so, Helheim cleans this up. I'm not sure where this was. Maybe take a look at how that conflict's going after this. And then, of course, more raiding from McCone. And this is cool. This is actually the first time I'd seen these polo marks working together like this. I think, like, pairing them up like this is really good. That's a really good idea because they have this formation fighter. So these guys get to sit in the same square together, and then they can take advantage of, let's see if they do here, but they can take advantage of one square buffs, right? So like you can set one guy to do one set of buffs, and it's going to get the whole square, and the other guy to do a different set of buffs to do the whole square. So like it's a really good way to like kind of reduce their fatigue load, because they have to cast fewer spells, and they get advantage of a lot of different stuff. So I don't think he's doing it here. This is all personal spells. It's like Phoenix Pyre. So they're going to be able to resurrect, assuming their fatigue, and that's it. Okay, so yeah, he's not really taking advantage of them being in the same square, but I mean, against our 6 PD, and then yeah, and I actually don't agree like with this. I mean, the fatigue is still pretty low. That's cool. Oh yeah, wow, this guy's really boosted up in Earth. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? We've seen these summons. That's a really good spell, but it's like Phoenix Pyre and then spell casting, right? Because again, you only get that immortality if your fatigue is below 100. And spell casting, yeah, Magma Eruption, Legions of Steel, like this is all really good stuff. I just think that like with the reinvigoration is really good. Well, no, actually, this guy's not as good. What about this guy? Okay, this guy is pretty crazy. Reinvigoration 10, that's really good. So maybe Phoenix Pyre on him. But yeah, I'm not so sure, like, right? Like, these guys are both, like, yeah, he's asleep, so if we were to be killed like this... I do think the Wraith Sword also drains fatigue. Yeah, so this drains fatigue. So, like, that's a good choice with Phoenix Pyre. But yeah, I just think the spellcasting with Phoenix Pyre is, like, risky. Anyway... They don't have any problems with our 6PD. So yeah, McCone is loose and causing us problems. And then we raid this back from the dogs. So that's good at least. And then some unexpected events. Dominion change, that sucks. And then we lose some province income, not unexpected. We have a death match coming up. This is the People's Death Match. So there's 2 different types of death matches. One you can cast spells in, the other one you cannot. The People's Deathmatch is the one that you cannot cast spells in, so don't send your spellcasters. Same kind of issues with the vanilla arena applies. I don't think we end up sending anybody because, there are some pretty scary nations left. We are only, a nation of humans, although, we do have some other chassis we have people we could send, but, to risk, we don't have a ton of those guys, so to risk them in the arena. We finished construction of the fort. This is good timing considering that is going to be attacking, and then yeah, the Niflheim is severely damaged, but we still have more to go. So yeah, definitely no panic going on here whatsoever. So let's see. So this is good. We locked this down. 6 defense. Cool. We're taking all this stuff and, we're going to put it on top of Niflheim to take it. We probably will not be attacking Helheim now since it looks like is coming in on us. And we are sending these mechanical men back. So, they're moving out, moving back. Love wasting turns like that. But, that's just how it goes sometimes. Still trying to keep eyes on this conflict. Like, we don't have full vision. We are starting to get a little more idea of, like, what Yomi's territory is looking like. So, like, they're still looking pretty solid. It does look like, Pangaea used to be, like, driven a little farther into Helheim's territory, and that seems to be receding somewhat. We haven't really caught those battles. But, yeah, Helheim seems to have, fixed their territory integrity problems, the rating. And then, of course, they're sieging Ubar, which is a capital that Marverni has. And this is cracked, so there'll probably be a storm here. We're not actually moving our scout on it, I think, because, this guy is using that, the stone sphere, the scrying, to see what happens here. So, definitely, like, useful item. And, now our scout can go elsewhere and try to get a sense of, like, how's this going? Because now definitely it seems like Helheim is starting to push in and maybe do a little more raiding, right? We were seeing a lot of battles on top of Arcocephali. Those days seem kind of done, right? Like, Arcocephali is now, looks like well within Helheim's hands, and, now they're starting to push in the other direction. But, we can't really afford to jump in now at this point. So a lot of this stuff, right? So this is, Macon is rated out here and here and maybe here. And like, super active right away, really, really good idea. It's like you win a big battle like that, absolutely like raid out, start to push back while you have the upper hand. In case he continues to raid, we're just sending in like a bunch of traps. Like, this is foul vapors, maybe not enough stuff to stop it. We'll see. We're sending in one of our Wraith Lords with just minimal kitting, but he is super poison resistant because he's undead. We got some other undead guys here. I made some Rings of Levitation, which I don't think I really talked about, because at this point I was thinking, well, maybe last turn I think, because I had seen that failed assault, and I was thinking, like, okay, like, Hinnom might not be able to close the deal here, and so I may need to go in and capture the capital, and of course, like, we're susceptible to earthquake. So the Rings of Levitation give floating, so you won't be affected by earthquake, and so the idea is to just slap a bunch of them onto some commanders that are going to be taking in maybe a smaller squad that doesn't have to worry about earthquake as much. Not sure what I was planning on doing unit wise, but anyway, that was the thought process with these Rings of Levitation. Like, otherwise they're okay. They are kind of helpful movement items. They don't boost your map move, but this floating does mean let's see. Yeah, they also count as having swamp and forest survival, and you're unaffected by like snow, and you can cross rivers. So like, it is sort of a mobility. I mean, it is a mobility item, so it helps with your mobility, but it doesn't actually make you any faster. But for some of these fast-moving guys that maybe don't have like survivals, that'll get slowed down by some of the terrains. Like, it can be kind of nice. So that's what I've done here. These specters were not in position. So they're just going to be here to spam out a bunch of horde of skeletons, right, to provide like additional cover for, our foul vapors, because I don't think those pole marks have any poison resistance. And then, we're also going to throw out some howl, right? Just need to tie them up, keep them busy with garbage while we poison them down. So, that's the plan there. If they come there, they should be in trouble. And then, these guys, they have a lot of options where they could raid out. These guys, pretty much, this is the only spot, because they can't cross rivers. I don't think. Probably should double check their items, but, so this is, like a little bit of swarm, a little bit of luck on somebody, probably this chief. Nope. Yeah, like we don't actually have a ton in position here. So, yeah, we'll see about this. Like a little bit of Hortus Skeletons. Disintegrate is like a really good, anti-elite, or thug spell. Some aim, I guess, yeah, to try to get Earth Grip on them. A lesser air elemental, like that should help. I don't think those assassins had like any shock resistance. So anyway, this is to try to stop those assassins, and like these are our patroller wolves. They're just gonna rush in and kind of provide like some cover for these guys. It will be sad to lose them, but then yeah, and then we're also trying to do some patrolling like here, I think, maybe. So yeah, actually some of these guys are moving and patrolling to a different province, so I think I'm actually not patrolling here, probably thinking that he's not going to hop on where there's a big army, but you never know. Yeah, okay, I am actually moving a couple other guys to try to patrol this, so this is another plan. Yeah, this guy's just researching. That's good because there's no gems. So this looks like it's mostly like focusing on Incinerate, a little bit of Blindness, like threw on a penetration item because I think Blindness is one of those MR check spells. Yeah, so we'll see. And then we've got so our Wyverns here. Wyverns should be enough. So we're just buffing them up a little bit and sending them in. A little bit of Frozen Heart. Yeah, so just setting up a bunch of traps to try to prevent these raiders from just getting loose and causing us a lot of problems. And then probably setting up, with these guys, like starting to do a little bit of like recruitment of Axe Warriors, and then we'll combine like this force and this force to try to actually like push back and maybe jump on top of Macone. Although, we have problems now. So maybe not going to jump on Macone. We need to... He's still actually not quite done with Lanka, but I mean, we've seen this army. Like, this is a scary army. Like, we're going to need something to fight against this. And, he's starting to mass some troops here. And we don't have full coverage, right? We were kind of pushing our scouts, like, deeper to get a sense of, like, his neighbors and the extent of his territory. But, we've kind of lost sight on a lot of the interior. And then, of course, he has this down here. And Baratos had actually contacted me, I think either this turn or maybe a turn or two ago, and let me know that he was at peace with because I might have contacted him this turn to just be like, hey, like, you have a new ally, and then he was like, no. So they had agreed to an end to the war, and I think that's probably a smart play from right? was probably just looking, because I think Baratos had like this and this and this and maybe this. So was looking probably to just like clean up a few like easy provinces, and wasn't looking to do like an all-out war, because like it would be a little awkward, right? You'd have to like stretch down along the coast, and then you would end up with this huge border like with Vanheim, and like all of his territories over here. Like, I think we actually do make a lot more sense like for him as a war target. Like, if he can even just pick up like all this, right? Like, that's, wow, okay, he'd have to come out here for our capital. But you could pick up this capital, right? And then our capital is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but certainly if the war goes well for him, he could just keep on eating. And then of course, like, Macone is very weak right now too, and like that capital is like loose and free. So there's really nothing stopping him, from hopping up here, right? Hinnom needs to regroup. Obviously, I will be fighting him. So anyway, like, there's a couple capitals, right, like on offer here. So I think this is a good war, for to take. I was definitely a little concerned, but was feeling maybe a little too secure in our nap, and this did catch me a little off guard, although we're not completely defenseless over here, but certainly like down here in Kailasa, we have a lot of mages here, but most of them are kind of the crappy like researcher types. We don't have any army down here, so that's definitely a little freaky, but anyway, trying to bring some stuff back, like, I think we have some Axe Warriors here. Yeah, so I mean, we're bringing stuff back, and that is the advantage of the non-aggression pact, right? I have 3 turns to prepare here. And, we're going to try to use that time to, redirect our forces. Now, it's unfortunate that we were planning on taking a war on the other side of our empire, but, I maybe did leave this front a little too undefended and a little too appetizing for, I do still struggle as a newer player. I end up with some empty forts sometimes, which I think is probably like, I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like, when you just have units, especially units that take upkeep, just sitting in forts, costing you gold every turn, kind of doing nothing. I don't know, that always really hurts me. And, you can see that, like, Helheim is definitely leaving, like, some of his forts kind of empty. And I do feel like Helheim is, at least for this game and my level, one of the better players in this game. So, like, it's probably one of those things that people go back and forth on. But I do feel that, like, has maybe done a better job. Like, a lot of times, I see something like this where there's, like, there's still 20 units in here, right? Which is not going to, like, turn around any, like, major attack. But it does make it a lot more annoying to take those forts, right? Especially if, they have some mage support, right? Because, like, you don't need a whole lot to plug that gate, the gap in the gate. So I think, like, maybe I have a tendency to leave my forts a little too empty, just offering up free infrastructure. You never want to do that. Now, I mean, I do make an effort to defend my forts. I will redistribute forces, but I do think that's something to consider. It's like, well, how empty do you leave your forts? And probably, like, don't leave them empty if you can avoid it. So anyway, some thoughts on that. I think, this is probably, like, still, site searchers and axe warriors. We have, like, all kinds of stuff. Like, so just trying to redistribute our forces, to meet this threat, but still, do want to grab Niflheim. Like, this is going to be a huge jump in income and gems for us. And I absolutely think this is worth finishing out, even if some of our forces aren't going to be available to fight immediately. But yeah, you always want to finish sieges as quickly as possible, but absolutely when you're about to be attacked on the other side of your empire. So yeah, I think, do we have anything else interesting going on? Not really. Like, doing a little bit of forging. Yeah, I've talked about a lot of these items before. Probably talk about them more. When they actually come out, like on, some thugs or some super combatants. Actually, in that vein, I saw Helheim using these guys, kind of in a heavy thug, sort of role. So I thought, hey, I have a bunch of gear, from Niflheim. Like, sure, I can make these guys. So yeah, we've got our own, who... this gear, like some anti-magic, never bad. I do think ring of regeneration, like, they have pretty good hit points. That's nice. They don't have encumbrance, so quickness on them is cool. To that end, right, like, this is a very heavy armor, but it gives a lot of different resistances. It is expensive. I think we picked this up, although we might have forged it. And then, this is a really good shield. We've talked about it. It does, like, the lightning nearby. A little bit of shock resistance is nice. And then this sword is, like, I mean, he's pretty strong, right? So that's nice, but it's not very killy. So, it's not really, like, anti-elite or anti-thug. And it's also, like, not great at clearing out, province defense and just masses of chaff. So it does give him luck, which is... Actually, you know what? No, he's not inanimate, so I'm pretty... Yeah, luck does... I don't think it'll show up, right? If it's not going to give him luck, I don't think that this status will show up. So yeah, luck will help him. That is nice. So yeah, and this is one of those items that we'd gotten from Niflheim, so it's kind of like, well, it's free gear. And that definitely makes it a lot more appealing. So yeah, so we've got this guy now. So, that's cool. Like, forging a little more gear, like, our nature income is not fantastic. So, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. We got another one in and, starting to kit him up a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit slow going. Definitely need to get, like, a little more gear for these Wraith Lords. Because, yeah, we're going to be using them a lot here, I think, shortly. So yeah, I think research still delaying alteration 9. So we got evocation 6. That's cool. We talked about that. Let's see, what are we doing with enchantment 7? Why are we doing this? Mass flight, can't really cast that. That would be nice. There are some... This is probably for Serpent's Blessing, I would say. Is absolutely a nation that can do foul vapors. And this is just going to give poison resistance to all your friendly units. And 10 is not perfect for foul vapors, but it's going to help a ton, right? Assuming the battle doesn't go on forever, you're probably going to be fine, in terms of poison. You might have a few guys, like, fail some morale checks. Like, it'll still be annoying, but... Mostly once you have Serpent's Blessing, and we can cast this, you're pretty much safe from foul vapors, more or less. And a few other things. Earthblood Deepwell is a global that generates a bunch of earth gems, 20 a month. This would be really nice. I think it's already up. Let's see here. Yeah, so Atlantis has it. There's a lot of globals up. So there's a limited amount of global slots, and everything is filled, right? And when this happens, in order to get a new global up, at this point, you have to replace one of the existing globals. And I don't know exactly how that replacement mechanic works. I do know that I think you just have to put more gems into your global than another global that's up. And then if you put more gems in than multiple globals, then it's just sort of a random chance. And you definitely can replace your own global. So for Helheim to cast a global right now would be a little freaky because they have 3 globals up, so there's a fair chance that they replace one of their own. And that really hurts. And you can also take the option of trying to dispel a particular global, assuming you have an astral caster. And some pearls, which we kind of have some astral now, so not totally off the table, but probably don't really have enough astral, to really go and try and take one of these down. So anyway, Earthblood Deepwell probably not on the table for us, but definitely, our native Earth income is 20, right? And that's pretty good. So, you want to have a good, you need to bank up I think the base cost of it is, let's see here. 80 gems, right? So just to get your foot in the door, you need 80 earth gems, which is a lot, right? Now, we get 20 a turn, so that's not too bad for us. But of course, people go back and forth, right? Because the more gems that you put into the spell, right, the longer it takes for this to actually pay for itself, right? So it's if you just put in the minimum, it's going to pay for itself pretty quickly, and then you're actually going to get some benefit, if you will. You're actually going to end up positive in terms of gems, but it's but then it's, if you put in 80 and then it gets replaced or dispelled immediately, then it's well, you just spent 80 earth gems and you maybe got 20 out of it or something, or maybe 40, so you actually lost gems on that cast. So oftentimes people put more in, and how much you put into global cast is it's kind of its own little, this is a part of the game that I'm not good at. The computer is really bad at casting these and taking them down, and it's really just not something you have to deal with in single player. So if you play single player, just cast it up for the minimum, and you don't have to worry about it too much. But in multiplayer, it's a bit of a mind game, and it's this whole other thing. So we could save up earth gems and try to steal this, and that's not a crazy plan. I don't think I'm planning on it right now. But anyway, a little bit of discussion about globals. Because we're starting to get up to the level of research, and obviously other people have been there for a while because all the global slots are full. But a lot of the end game, if you really want to win, people talk about controlling globals. That's a huge part of the game because they give a really significant advantage. Some of them, a lot of them. Some of them Ghost Ship Armada is really just more hilarious. So when you sink 60 water gems, and then this, ghost admiral guy will just attack random coastal provinces controlled by your enemy and plunder it. So, it'll just, if he wins, it'll turn independent, and then once he kills enough people, he creates a new ghost armada. So he can, and the ghost armada is okay, and I think if the other secondary armadas get defeated, that's okay, right? The main armada keeps going, but if the main armada gets defeated, then you get no new ones, and this is I don't know, this is maybe one of the globals that's not as useful, but it is hilarious. It'll put a smile on my face if you ever cast this spell in my game, unless I have a lot of coastal provinces, but I'll still laugh. So anyway, not all the globals are created equal. But and so like I said, mostly Serpent's Blessing. Life after death, we've talked about a little bit. It's very fatiguing. You need a lot of death gems and decently high death casters. So this is probably still off the table for us, even with our Wraith Lords. but something that we're not too far away from being able to cast. And if you're using a lot of living troops, or especially like living mages, I would say this is really almost better to keep your mages alive, because the troops just come back as soulless. Your mages come back as soulless as well, but they keep their paths, so they're still mages, which is really nice. So anyway, yeah, some useful things here, and like, don't get me wrong, like enchantment is a really nice school, so going farther up, there's, mass regeneration would be really nice. These fens are really good, they're just AoE resistance. So yeah, but mostly probably looking at Serpent's Blessing. And then of course, very sad to keep pushing Alteration 9 back, but probably looking at it, and we're not going to get this in 3 turns, when attacks, but this we could absolutely have before attacks, right? So this is something that is relevant probably to what can, well, it's definitely relevant to what could do, and he may be doing it, and it's something that we'll have ready for the war. So sad to push this back again, but I do think this is probably a good choice. So yeah, I think that a lot of discussion about research and spells and globals, and I think that covers turn 73.